Hey folks, your old pal keeping it country. Hey, um, this is my first episode. We're going to go across a couple of things. Most of my stuff is going to pertain to the music industry, but there'll also be topics of today included in there, and this is no exception. And we'll get to that when we get to it. So, first of all, I'd like to um, congratulate my friend Casey Musgraves on her Deeper Well album that came out. 7-time Grammy winner. Pretty awesome music. I hear the feedback. A couple of the songs, they want to pertain. It sounds like Anna and Alec, and this song sounds like this. The thing with that is music. Good music is good music. It doesn't matter if it sounds a little bit like the other one. You do want it to be relatable, but you also want it to stand on its own and have its own unique sound. So um, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. The other thing is I had put out a posting on my social medias about you know I do what I do out of my own pocket. I don't have deep pockets. I don't have, some big company standing behind me. I don't have sponsors. There's a specific reason for that. I like to be able to speak my mind without being an acting agent of some company and have to abide by their HR department's rules and regulations. Um, I like to speak my mind and like to speak it in the terms that I want to speak it in. Um, you know, a lot of people want to use legal terminology, and this. I like to use layman's terms where a 5-year-old can understand what I'm saying. So, with that being said, let's move on from that. Um, what I do for and I did it. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing up until I posted what I did. Um, Tiffany Ashton, Dawn Byers, Bailey Callahan, Julia Cole, Kirsty Krause, Casey Musgraves. Up until February, I kept banging my head. I really wish there was more I could do for the independent artist, and not just pertaining to them, any artist, actually, all artists. But with that being said, I kept banging my head. How can I help them? Other than doing the postings and liking their post and posting a comment on that and sharing their postings. Um, I came up with a little bit of a thing, and maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't. I mean, what works for me may not work for you. What I like, you may not like. So, what I'm doing is in February, I took the four mentioned people, and I took all their music on Spotify and let every single one of their songs play for the whole month of February, every single day except Saturday and Sunday. That's not much, but it's something, and it's a way that you can help your artists. They get residuals off of their plays. It's kind of like YouTube, with doing your views and stuff like that. Once you get so many people, you can monetize and you can make money off your videos and so on and so forth. Same with the artist. So what I did, it was for February, is I took all the aforementioned people and I played every single song they had at least one time a day. Most of the time it played over and over because I would just turn on my Spotify, mute the sound, and let it play and go check it periodically. When it changed over or their songs had ran out, then I went to the next one, and so on and so forth. So it took me usually on the average about 16 hours to play everybody's music. So then for this month, what I did was I went in and I took kind of their most recent songs. Kirsty Krause's Beaches Be Crazy, Julia Cole, Your Boy, and Texas, Louisiana. Dawn Byers, I haven't really seen anything post to her, so I usually just let all her music play. Julia Cole, I think I already mentioned For You, and Texas, Louisiana. Tiffany Ashton, Can't Save You. Who else was in there? Oh, Casey Musgraves. I did her Deep Well and Too Good to Be True. I created a playlist. Now then, when you create these playlists, and even the ones that you have in there, you can go in there and down at the bottom of it, there's a little square thing in there. You'll see a little dot. What that does is that lets that whole playlist play, and then once it gets to the end of it, it will either roll over and start picking out random artists of the same liking or similarities and start playing them, or it won't. But you can click on that and you can actually make it where it plays that and then stops, or you can play it where it plays and then rolls over, like I said, or you can make it where it continuously plays. It just keeps playing that playlist over and over and over and over. Does it take a little time to do that? Absolutely, but I create playlists all the time, different things, different music that I've liked over a period of time. So that is one way of that you can actually help artists, and that generates income for them. And I'm just a little itty bitty tadpole in a huge old pond out here on a lily pad somewhere. But just think, if I do it and then somebody sees this and then they do it and one of their friends do it, it's the cascading effect. The next person, then 2 people, then 5 people, then 10 people, then 20 people, then 30 people, then 40 people, then 80 people, then 160, next thing you know, we're generating a little bit of income for them. So that's just me. That's kind of what I came up with, how I could help my artists that I really appreciate and show my appreciation for them, and helping them out in their careers and better their careers, and hopefully give them a little spendable income to put on to their next albums or songs or travel expenses or wants and needs. So that's about all I have to say about all that, and how to help artists, and a thing that I came up with. Now then, because of some recent things in the news, I want to go over NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Okay? Non-disclosure agreements are a legal and binding contract between one person and another person, or a person and an entity, saying what can be disclosed, what can't be disclosed, and there are penalties, legal ramifications, monetarily enforceable. So what I want to reiterate to all of my friends out here, and if you're into the movies, if you're a recording artist, it doesn't matter. If you're going to sign an NDA, what you need to know is that is legal and binding. In certain cases, that can be nullified, but you have to go to court to get it nullified, which means you still can't talk about anything except with the judge, and that's usually going to be in a closed system because it is regarding an NDA. If you are required, or if you're going to sign an NDA, and I have had to sign a few of them, and there's been a few occasions where I walked away because they were adamant about signing a certain kind of NDA, and when I brought something up, which I'll discuss it here in a little bit, and they just weren't willing to go with what I wanted. So when you're signing an NDA, make sure that you have an entertainment lawyer if it's pertaining to music, or actors, actresses, whomever, or in whatever case, at least have a lawyer. But in the entertainment business, you have to have an entertainment lawyer because they'll use terminologies and the wherefore and thereas and imperpetuity, terminology that you may or you may not know what it means. I mean, we have Google. We can look up any terminology we want so that you have an understanding. But there may be some other terminologies in there, or an implied agreement type situation by the way it's worded, that you have to understand. Once you sign that, that is a legal and binding contract. So, with saying that, where I found a few, how shall I say, hiccups with NDAs, I'll read it, and and I'll ask, is it okay if I have my lawyer, look at it and go over it? And most of them are absolutely going to say absolutely. Some of them are going, well, we need to kind of sign this now. That's going to give you a kind of a flag right there. When signing that NDA, whether you have an entertainment lawyer read it, do it, or you do it yourself, you need to understand it is a contract. So, with it being a contract, make sure that it's specific. And you're going to ask me, why? Why do you want it to be specific? There are allegations right now against a couple of notable people, and I say allegations. Nothing's been proven. Right now, it's all just, it's out over the internet, it's out over the airwaves. It's pertaining to the WWE and a situation there, which if these are come to fruition to be true, are vile and absolutely immoral and should never be tolerated. Should be zero tolerance for that kind of mannerisms or things to happen within a company or from any person. I'll just state that right now. I have no tolerance for people like that. Howsoever, in that case, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, if it poops like a duck, there's a pretty good chance it's a duck. And I'll leave it at that. Where we're going back to the NDAs and where it pertains to you as an artist, put in specifics what you want that to encompass. If you want it to encompass, because the company's going to put in there a whole bunch of different stuff. They're going, your masters, your images and likenesses, um, things that you can and can't discuss, about the company, yada 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 yada. There's going to be a whole bunch of legal jargon in there as well. Um, what you need to put in there are the exclusions that you want to exclude, or what you specifically want it to pertain to. Yes, I want the NDA to specifically pertain to my music. That I understand that I am in business with XYZ company, and I need their pre authorization to do anything, but they need mine as well. You need to have as much control over your own product as they do. And everybody's going to go, oh, no, you can't do that. We are in a digital world. You absolutely can do that. You can say who can use your image. You can actually copyright your image. I don't know how many of y'all know that, but you can actually do that. Whether it's feasible to do that, I'm not sure. I often, you know, with the paparazzis, with, like the Taylor Swifts or the George Clooney's or whomever, why they never copyrighted their images, because all that would negate all that paparazzi and they would squash it. I'm just saying. Because when you copyright something, as many of you know, there's copyright laws that if anybody uses that image without authorization, they are susceptible to be fined monetarily, in a court of law, so on and so forth. So make sure that you put the specific things that you at least want to have included. Make sure the things that you have are included, because most companies are going to go in there and they're going to make a broad NDA that covers pretty much anything to do with the company. No. Make sure that it pertains to what you're doing, that it's to your images, to your music, to your masters, to your writing. So that, and I'll allude to this other case that's being alleged in the WWE, where because of some of the things happening within that company, it's covered under the NDA because they signed a blanketed NDA. So now they're having to go through the courts to see if they can get that nullified, so that they can speak to the specifics of the atrocities that's happened to them. So I don't want you guys to get caught out there with the same thing, that you signed an NDA and, I don't know how many of y'all still are aware or aren't aware, but the casting couches are a real thing. And just because it's called a casting couch, that's not necessarily what that means. What that means is, in order to get one thing, you have to give something, or vice versa. That's a no-no. Everything should be in a contract and contractual form. This is what I'm going to give you. I'll give you X amount of albums for X amount of years. You're to pay me X amount of dollars. It's to be at an X amount of rate until you recuperate your initial investment, and then it goes to a different rate once that you've recouped your investment, so on and so forth. Perfect example of that would be Taylor Swift. There's a reason she had to come back out with all of her music under Taylor's version, because she didn't have the rights to her masters. Excuse me. she took it upon the faith that she, on good faith, that the person that she originally signed up with and signed with would keep their end of the bargain. And I'm not going to say that he wouldn't have. Howsoever, when he sold that company, the new person knew what was going on and didn't abide by that verbal okay. Now, in some states and some places in the United States, there is a such cause as a verbal contract. A lot of places, not so much. And then you get into, well, he said, she said, and all it takes is for one of the other persons not to say, no, I never said that. Then you're, you're pretty much screwed, for lack of a better term. Pardon my language. I'm going to try not to curse or anything on these, so that in case other ears happen to be around, that they're not hearing stuff that they shouldn't. So just be conscious of when people are trying to get you to sign stuff. It's no different than buying a home. It's no different than signing a record deal. Or a writing deal, or a publishing deal, or an actor's deal to sign with a company, Universal, Sony, whomever, to participate in movies. Make sure you understand what you're signing, number one. Number two is make sure that it isn't all-inclusive, where they can do certain things, but you still can't hold them accountable for it, because you can never take it to court because you signed an NDA saying that you won't disclose these actions, which is a legal binding contract. So I just wanted to get out there and it, this world, I mean, I grew up in a world where a person's handshake and their word was as good as any contract there was. You didn't say you were going to do something if you weren't going to do it. You didn't shake on something and then go, oh, well, I rethought about it later, or, well, I'm sorry, but it's going to cost you more money now. No. That's not the way I was raised. I'm not going to say that's right for all y'all. That's what's right for me. That's where my moral integrity and honor comes in. I always live by something that I call him. And I know that sounds, what's the word? It's not gender specific, by no means. HIM stands for honor, integrity, and morals. That's what I like. That's what I live by, and that's kind of my standard and what I expect from others to live by, that I deal with. So I alluded to that, there were some hiccups where NDAs didn't work out for me, and that was because I was very specific about things. I wouldn't talk about any releasing of stuff they had coming up. That was private and confidential. I wouldn't talk about anything, musical wise that their company had going on. Howsoever, if I seen something immoral, or in my opinion that was immoral or illegal, or I thought was shady, I would speak out against it. And they didn't want to hear that. They were, no, if you sign this, then you have to follow our guidelines. I'm not going to do that. That's why I do this with me, myself, and I in control. So I don't have to ever run across that issue. So I'm just trying to bring you guys some truths here. This is just one of many I hope to come. This is the first one in the series that after I, put the thing out that I was going to be doing something, and it was going to be pertaining kind of to today's environment and what's going on. Like I said again, most of it is going to lean towards the music industry, but we will get into some other aspects of it. I really don't want to talk politics or religion, but if I get comments or questions, I'm not going to shy away from answering them either. So, I'm fully behind everybody having the rights to their own beliefs, and what's right for them is what's right for them. What's right for me is what's right for me. May not always be what's right for you. So, that's all I really have to say on this episode. So, until we meet again, my friends, this is your old pal keeping it country. And remember to love one another. Remember to be kind to one another.